people wait too long to get into public speaking. We do look on stage and we see CEOs and C-suite and celebrities. They didn't just vault up on stage as the keynote. You work up to that.
When you become a speaker, what are some of the doors that get opened?
A lot of people say, well, I will build up my confidence and then I will do public speaking. Doing a good job and succeeding at public speaking helps build your confidence. So if you're an introvert, I want to encourage people to do more public speaking, even though you may have been told, well, you're an introvert, that's not for you. We're actually pretty good about speaking because we practice. Extroverts who have been told their whole lives that they are good about public speaking often aren't, because they tend to wing it. So if you're an introvert, do public speaking. You'll love it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Superhumans podcast. Today, I am with Bobbie Carlton, who's the founder of Innovation Women, and her mission is to get more women on stage. So, Bobbie, I am so happy that you're here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Why don't you tell everybody what is it that you do right now and who you help right now?
Well, so I actually have many jobs. My day job is I run a PR and marketing firm. That's how I make an actual living. For many years, lots of folks knew me as the person who ran Innovation Nights, which was a monthly new product launch event. So we have the day job, a night job, and then the dream job is Innovation Women. It's the dream of getting more women on stage at conferences and events. And I consider it my job to get women to say yes to public speaking.
I actually met you at an Innovation Women event where you were talking about getting up on stage and speaking.
Yes.
And it actually opened up so many doors for me. I ended up having a corporate deal with Staples. I ended up on one of their brochures. There's still an article of my podcasting tips on the Staples Connect website. All of that because of you. All of that because of you, because I went to one of your events. So before we get started, I actually want to know, how did you even land at that idea to help women get on stage?
I think some of it stems from frustration. I had been working primarily in the tech and startup space for many years. And I think the first 20 years of my career, and as a public relations person, helping executives get on stage, I never had any female clients.
No.
Yeah, all of my clients were older white men generally. Actually, not generally, 100%. And
Like they needed any help to get up on stage.
but it was my job, and
Yeah.
part of my job was to get visibility for the companies that I was working for, and those companies, the senior executives, were primarily older men.
Yeah. And that's what we see everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what we see everywhere. If we go to a conference, what bugs me the most is knowing that if I'm going to see a panel full of men with a single woman, I know already that the woman is getting paid less than everybody else on that stage. I know that already, and that kind of bothers me. So, how did the idea of like actually launching Innovation Women come about? So you're in this job where you're helping old white dudes get up on stage, and you're like, okay, this doesn't feel right. Anybody else would have just found another job or done something else, but you turned it into a movement.
Yeah, and Innovation Women is the third of my companies. So at that point, I was already out doing my own thing. I had hung out a shingle. I was doing public relations for primarily startups and small companies. I was going to a lot of events. When you run events, people invite you to their events. And a lot of that was because the Innovation Nights focus was social media powered events. So I was kind of walking around with a lot of community and network in my pocket on my phone. And people would say, oh, she gets all kinds of visibility for her events. Let's invite her to ours.
Mhm.
And that was a lot of sitting in the audience next to often other women, and there would be conversations about what we call the manels.
Mm.
So, manels is a name for an all male panel. And by the way, you cannot fix a manel by putting a woman in as a moderator. That doesn't
Ah,
count.
is that is
Still a manel.
is that what the model is? It's like, well, if we have a woman moderator, we can
Yeah,
balance it
we're going
out.
to mask it a little bit.
That doesn't
Doesn't
sound
work.
right. That
We
doesn't
all know, we know. And I would have conversations with people in the audience sitting next to me, and the women would always ask some of the same questions. Why wasn't I invited? How do I get myself on stage? And because of my background, I would spend a lot of time explaining to people, okay, not everybody is invited. Sometimes you apply. And the basic currency of speaking at a lot of industry conferences and events is the call for speakers. This is the equivalent of an event manager standing up and waving their arms and saying, woohoo, come at me. Like, I want to hear what you would like to speak about. And so once you give people that knowledge, now I can go and look for calls for speakers at the events and I can apply.
Mhm.
So that's one reason that Innovation Women was first a platform designed to directly connect event managers and speakers, but it also is an educational mission. And we have what we call the green room. And the green room is where all of our educational materials live. And in speaker vernacular, the green room is where speakers go to get ready to go on stage.
Mhm.
So it made perfect sense to make that where we put all of our educational material.
If I am listening to this and I've never even heard of what a call for speakers is, I'm here thinking, well, you need to have achieved a certain level of expertise. And right now, it seems like I don't really have that expertise and I don't really have the experience. Like, I have no business going to apply in a call for speakers, knowing that there's so many other qualified people. So maybe, Bobbie, this doesn't sound like it's for me. What
Oh no.
what do you say to them?
Number one, people wait too long to get into public speaking because I think we do look on stage and we see CEOs and C suite and celebrities and industry thought leaders. But they didn't just vault up on stage as the keynote. You work up to that. And there are opportunities at all different levels. One of the first panels that we put together for Innovation Women was a panel of younger women talking about how they got their first job, and this was a panel for college students. So, no matter what level you're at, there is somebody who hasn't had that life experience, and you're an expert to them.
I would love to hear just some stories about the public speaking world. If I want to apply, if I want to be on stage, I want to know kind of like what to expect.
Sure.
What is like the one story that kind of stands out in your mind that is going to let people in a little bit on the behind the scenes?
So, you and I recently spoke at an event together. You and I were both at this event, and that was an event that was a women's conference. When I first applied, I'm not from the area where this particular event was being held. So I looked at it and said, well, this is a place where I can help spread my message. And so I applied. And I didn't know that there were many other Innovation Women members who were also applying. So we had a little mini reunion at this event. And I think that's one like nice little demonstration of events are not just the act of speaking. Events are a way to get connected with other audiences and the other speakers. Like, I think that's such a nice lesson when you are going to an event and you're going as a speaker. You're connecting not just with the people you're speaking to, the people in the room, but you're also connecting with the other speakers. And if you say something particularly brilliant, people in the audience or people that are hearing you might help you spread the word to other people. So look at speaking opportunities as a way to make many, many new connections.
And one thing that I love about going to events, and I like going to events by myself. I know this is a thing for people like I don't want to go by myself and I'm not going to know anybody. I'm like, you meet everybody. Some of my best connections have come because I attended an event and I just turn left, turn right, introduce myself, and then you see what happens there. So,
Can I say something about that?
yeah.
Spoken like a true extrovert.
Oh, so is this a thing? Is this like a 50% of the population feels like me?
So extroverts are excited by that. Introverts are definitely intimidated by it.
Ah,
And a lot of people self identify as introverts. And I get a lot of questions about public speaking for introverts. And this is where I have to say, well, I'm an introvert too. And when I go to a conference, I'm the person who looks a little awkward often until I get on stage. And there I actually feel more comfortable because I've practiced.
mm,
So if you're an introvert, I want to encourage people to do more public speaking, even though you may have been told, well, you're an introvert, that's not for you. So you don't have to tell yourself, I can't do this because I'm an introvert. Because I'm going to tell you one thing about introverts. We're actually pretty good about speaking because we practice.
mhm,
And extroverts who have been told their whole lives that they are good about public speaking often aren't because they tend to wing it. They get up on stage thinking, I'm good at this. I don't have to practice. So if you're an introvert, do public speaking. You'll love it.
Can we talk a little bit about the benefits of public speaking? So, like I said, I had an incredible opportunity with a major company just because I went to your session and you said something that I had never even thought about before. And that is to make connections with event organizers. To me, those I'm like, I don't even know who an event organizer would be. And I'm sitting there in this session, which happened at a Staples Spotlight studio, right? Like one of those little conference rooms they have at Staples. And you're telling us you need to befriend the event organizers. And I'm here thinking to myself, like who? I don't know anybody. And right on cue comes in this lady who rented you the room or gave you the space for this event. And she introduced herself, right? And she said, hello, my name is Colette, and this is what I do. And I just wanted to show you. We started this thing at Staples, blah, blah, blah. And I'm here like, oh, wait. I jotted down her name. I tracked her down after the event because by the time our event was over, she was gone. So I tracked her down, connected with her on LinkedIn, and I told her, "Hey, I was there. We met, and I'd love to see if you need any help with X, Y, or Z." And she said, let's get on a call. And from there started a beautiful relationship. So that just blew my mind. That was just one thing. But can you tell me a little bit of what happens when you go to these events, when you become a speaker? What are some of the doors that get opened?
Absolutely. And I already talked about connections and making connections not only with other speakers, but an audience and the audience's connections as well. I have a structure around the benefits of public speaking, and I call them the 5 C's. So, the 5 C's of public speaking start off with confidence. And a lot of people say, well, I will build up my confidence and then I will do public speaking. I actually urge people to get on stage maybe before they feel fully confident in it, because doing a good job and succeeding at public speaking helps build your confidence. So every time you do some public speaking, you get to build your confidence. Number two is competence. You are demonstrating that you know your topic, you are demonstrating that you are good at what you do, like you are demonstrating your competence. Number three is connections. We already went there. Number four is credibility. When you are on stage, you get so much just added credibility. People look at you on stage and they go, oh, she must know what she's talking about. Look at, she's been selected to speak on this topic. She knows more than me. So people will give you that credibility. And this is kind of an interesting little side note to that. Often when you're doing public speaking, you're on a physical stage. You're up above the audience. You're looking down on them physically. That height actually gives you added credibility. People see you as a leader, they see you as an expert because you're up above them. I always tell people you don't get to be a leader by sitting in the audience because nobody sees you there,
Mhm.
but they see you when you're on stage. And then the last one, which is everybody's favorite, cash.
Mm.
Cold hard cash. Yes, absolutely, indeed. Some speaking engagements do pay speakers, and I have a whole bunch of information about that. But there are direct correlations that have been studied about the correlation between pay, salary, higher salaries for people who have demonstrated expertise in public speaking. And there's another correlation as well. If you are not comfortable with public speaking, your salary will probably be lower. So, big benefits.
I can see why public speaking would be great if you're thinking to be, if you're looking to be a thought leader.
Mhm.
If you want to eventually write the book about that thing, if you want to eventually have the podcast about that thing, public speaking seems like a very natural progression to an entrepreneurial soul, right? I am really interested of how does this help somebody who has a professional job, right? If I
It's the
am
6th bonus C, career.
career, so like how does that correlate? If I went out there and started speaking about a particular topic, what does that do for my career?
You know, I once met a woman who was a vice president at a tech company, and she said, there are two ways I'm going to make it to senior vice president: cure cancer, or you're going to help me get out there and become known through public speaking. And by the way, she was not a scientist working in the medical field. So the cure cancer was not going to happen.
Right.
But we could put her on stages where other people are acknowledging her expertise, her thought leadership, and her company sees her as more valuable. They see her as somebody that they can promote. They also see her as somebody that they need to promote because she's becoming so known in the industry that somebody else might swoop in and snap her up. So, career, maybe it's getting a new job, maybe it's getting a promotion, maybe it's getting a raise, or maybe it's something like board seats. When you are on stage and you're acknowledged as that expert or that thought leader, the ripples keep extending throughout your career.
I am here trying to think really hard as to why somebody wouldn't do this. It seems like there's all of these reasons to go ahead for it, and then yet not that many people do it. Why do you think that is? What is stopping
I
them?
think there's some intimidation factor for a lot of people. We've all heard the public speaking is the number one fear. Uh there are lots of joking references to that, but there have been multiple studies that have said that public speaking is what people often cite as their number one fear.
Mhm.
And death is like way down the list. In
Right.
other words, lots of people feel like they would rather die than do public speaking.
Right.
I personally feel like if we talk so much about the fear, we're just making people more fearful of something, and they don't necessarily have to. Because a lot of times people talk about public speaking and they think very narrowly about it. It's the one stage, the one person by themselves, all alone, huge audience. That can be intimidating.
Mhm.
But you could speak on a panel, you could speak at a smaller event. You could be speaking with a co-presenter. You could be a moderator or an MC. You don't necessarily have to be the one person on stage by themselves. I'm a big fan of panels. Okay? Panels are often a conversation. You're seated on stage in the comfy seats. You don't have to come up with a big presentation ahead of time. You're having a conversation and there happens to be an audience.
Mhm.
Not intimidating at all.
I didn't even think about that, of the different types of public speaking that there could be. Like if you were to try to enumerate them, we know we have a keynote, right? You are the final presenter in a conference, right? Like the big the position that gets you the big bucks, the position that gets you the big visibility. That's like the only thing that people think of when they think of public speaking, is like
Right.
being the keynote speaker. Then you have panels. What are other ways to get up on stage?
MC, like you could be the moderator in the panel. You don't have to actually be on the panel. You can be asking questions. And you don't necessarily have to be on the physical stage to participate in public speaking either. You could be doing webinars. You could be doing podcasts. You could go in and speak at schools. You could be going in to read at your kid's school, and that's actually a form of public speaking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually like take a little sidestep here. We talked a lot about why people turn away from public speaking or don't think about it. And there are actually reasons why women in particular don't participate as much in public speaking. And some of that is systemic. Okay. Women are more likely to work part time. Women are more likely to work for smaller companies, and women are still more likely to be responsible for kids at home. So it's hard to be the morning keynote if you've got to put little Johnny on the bus at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a conflict there. It's harder to get away from the office and travel to a conference if you only work part time and you've got a day to get there, a day to get back, and a day to speak at the conference. Maybe you only work 3 days a week. That takes you out of the office for 3 whole days for a whole week.
Mm.
And then if you work for a smaller company, there's nobody to backfill. The company might not be able to afford to send you to that conference. And hey, we're women, we make what, 80 cents on the dollar. So we can't afford to take ourselves to that conference either.
So it's more than just fear.
I meet a lot of women who are really interested in public speaking. And every time somebody says to me, oh, well, women are reluctant. Mm, no, no, that is not true. No more so than men.
Can we talk about the other side? The event managers, because I have seen this happen, where they're like, yeah, we would love to have more women on our stage, but they're just not there,
Oh,
right? They just don't exist, right? We get applications, we select the quote unquote most qualified ones, and this is what we end up with. Sorry. What do you think are some things that event organizers should be doing differently?
yeah. Well, I mean, first off, Innovation Women is a free to use platform that event managers can go in and search our database, 3,000 women speakers. You can search it by topic, by industry, by location. You can even search by where the speaker went to college if you're looking for a particular speaker for your college and university. So we got the speakers, but there's so many other things aside from innovation women. And yes, some industries do have a dearth of women at the upper levels. So if I'm an event manager and I'm putting together a panel and I only want Fortune 50 CEOs, there's a very small percentage of that group that are women or people of color. You have so many restrictions that event managers will put by definition on their speakers that they are purposely cutting women out of these opportunities.
Mm.
And yes, if an industry only has 10% women in management roles in that industry, the field is going to be smaller. You are going to have to do a little more work to get different voices on that stage. And you notice I specifically said different voices? The different voices aspect of that is if I, as an audience member, look up on the stage and I see the same four old white guys. Ah, boring. I've seen these guys before. I know all their stories. They probably know each other's stories. They've been on stage so many times together. Give me something new. Work a little bit harder. Give me more women. Give me more people of color. Give me speakers with disabilities. I just want to see something different. And conferences and industry events, they're supposed to show us the future. They're supposed to give us things that are interesting and different. And that starts with the speakers.
So we covered a little bit of if somebody is hesitant to apply, right? Somebody's hesitant. We're like, no, there are all of these opportunities you can apply for. It's not just to be the keynote speaker at the next, 5,000 people conference. Like that's not the only opportunity you have. Then we covered people who are in full-time jobs. Yes, this is going to help your career, it's going to help your careerability. And then we talked about all the things that are working against them, right? The panels are just disqualify you right off the bat. The event organizers are not doing their part at going and finding women, right? There's systemic things happening against you getting on stage. So what is there left to say to women who are listening right now who want to make this happen? What would you say is the easiest point of entry? How do they start?
One really easy way to start is to ask a question from the audience. So if you attend conferences and events and you're watching a speaker or a panel on stage and they've wrapped up and they've said, any questions? That's your opportunity to become a speaker. You can raise your hand, you can introduce yourself, you can say the name of your company, you can ask your intelligent, well thought of question, and you are now a speaker because you spoke to the exact same audience that the people on stage just spoke to. That is a great way to dip your toe in the water, very low barrier to entry. You didn't have to make an application. You didn't have to do a presentation. All you did was raise your hand. So that is a great way to start, and it helps you feel more comfortable speaking to a crowd. Also, the event organizer is probably standing in the back with a clipboard, right? You've asked a question, they've noted that question. As you leave, look around. There's probably somebody who is there from the conference, from the event, and you can talk to them and you can start that dialogue. That is a great way to get known.
Meeting the event organizers, like we said, is going to be key. I thought that was the most genius piece of advice I had ever heard when I was there. So let's talk a little bit about getting paid. I have been a speaker at several events, several conferences, and they always tell you there's no budget. This is purely volunteer. You get yourself there, you get yourself out, and we are giving you an opportunity. We're paying you in visibility.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say about this topic? It's like before I start to like put you in a corner to talk specifically about this, I want to know just openly, what are your thoughts about this getting paid for speaking for women?
I could speak about this particular topic for hours. It is so incredibly complex. And when I started Innovation Women 2014, 2015, I surveyed 360 event organizers. And one of the questions I asked was, do you pay speakers? Half, 50%, have no budget whatsoever for speakers. That is not even in their business model. 42% paid some speakers. They had money for keynotes. They might have money for people doing workshops, but they weren't paying people who were on panels. They weren't paying breakout speakers. So if you're doing the math with me, 8% of event managers paid all or most of their speakers. Now, in 2019 and early 2020, we tried to update that survey. Got interrupted by the pandemic. All bets were off. We stopped. But the data that we got, we did, I think it was over 500 event managers the second time. Not very different. So nothing really changed in those several years. That means that as a speaker, you need to figure out what your business model is. You can go and look for the smaller number of people who are paying speakers, or you can figure out another way to get compensated for all of the time that you spend preparing your knowledge, your value as a speaker, and you can figure out another way to get compensated for all of that. We talk about this in Innovation Women quite a bit. It's obviously a huge topic of conversation. I think one of the reasons that I'm not a hardline person in this respect, like there are people who are like, you as a woman, you cannot speak for free. You are a traitor to the cause if you are not getting paid. I'm like, no, don't go there. Because as a speaker, you need to have value, and value takes time. Becoming a good speaker takes time and practice. So when we talk about getting paid and speaking, I'm not going to be very like, you can only speak if you get paid. The decision-making process, here's a structure for it. Number one, you will say yes to public speaking opportunities when you get paid your happy price. What's a happy price, Bobbie? A happy price is the amount that is commensurate with the value you bring to the audience and all of the work that you put into being that fantastic speaker. Preparing your presentation, the learnings that you're sharing, your education, all of that. That's taken into account with your happy price. Number two opportunity to say yes to. You are auditioning in front of people who can pay your happy price. Third option, you are getting something else of value. Several years ago, I was invited to speak at the UN. They're not paying anybody. I have the ability to speak on a prestige stage. I can forevermore say, I spoke at the UN. I don't care if I got paid or not. I'm taking that opportunity. And that is in my speaker biography, and that is worth something. Other things of value might be professional video, professional photos, connections maybe testimonials. Those are all things that are things of value.
Yeah. And this is so important for somebody to say out loud that there are times, especially as an entrepreneur, where you have to make the decision. If you're going to be speaking there, there's got to be something in it for you, right? Like you're not going to do it just out of the kindness of your heart. There's got to be something that you're getting out of it. Like you said, it could be practice. It could be that even if they don't take their own video and photos, bring your own photographer, bring your own videographer. I do this as much as I can whenever I go out there and speak, because there aren't has not been a big area of focus for me. So whenever I'm on stage, I better get professional photos. I have friends who have just taken friends around to just take pictures of them. I always recommend bring a professional.
Yeah.
The quality of those pictures, like that's how you're getting paid for this, is the value of your credibility just increases when there's a professional shot of you right up on stage. I don't care if they paid me or not. That I'm taking to the bank for the rest of the year. So there are so many other ways. You could be in front of your ideal audience and you could give them a freebie. Now they're in your mailing list and it's up to you to market to them. There's so many other ways to get paid. Going back to the actual payment, just for our information, when we say getting paid for speaking, what are we talking about? How much are women getting paid for speaking? Is there a tier that you can share with us? So to get an idea.
It's all over the place. And it's geographic, it's industry, it's person to person. It's not like, you're going to McDonald's and saying a Big Mac costs this. Speaking and prices are a game of perception. What is the perception of the speaker's expertise and their value, not only by the event organizer, but by the audience? So I know speakers who are very happy when somebody, gives them an honorarium of a couple $100 because it covers their parking and gas. I know other speakers who speak for 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. We have a couple of speakers that are in the $50 to $75,000 range. And that value, it's different. It's different based on the audience that you're speaking in front of. We had um, an event organizer and somebody who worked with speakers a few years ago do a webinar for us. And she worked with some incredibly high profile people. And I asked her, like, what is the most expensive speaker engagement you ever handled? And she's like, it was a private dinner for 10 people and a very important speaker. And that was the highest price I had ever seen pay for a speaker. Very small audience, private event. So a lot of it is this perception of the speaker's value. And I hate to say it, that's one reason that it is so hard to put a value on any speaker. Speakers and speaking, very secretive. That's one of the reasons that we set up Innovation Women Speaker Friend Friday Zoom calls. And we encourage all of our members to openly share information because otherwise we're all guessing.
That actually sounds like a really cool activity to do on a Friday, to get together with other people who have been speaking and tell us, like, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah.
So can we just switch gears and talk a little bit more about Innovation Women? Can you tell us, we've been talking about it, but like tangentially. I want you directly to tell us, what is Innovation Women? What do I get when I become a member? And how can I get started in speaking with it?
Why, thank you for allowing me to do a commercial. No.
Please, please give me the commercial.
All right. I'm going to start off with what it is not. We are not a traditional speakers bureau. A traditional speakers bureau works with people who are professional speakers who are already getting paid for speaking. Now, Innovation Women, we've got a whole bunch of professional speakers as well, but we have a broader mission. And that broader mission is to help people understand the speaking game and to give them the opportunities. So when someone joins Innovation Women, it's a membership organization. They get a profile on our platform that event managers can see when they search. And then they also get access to the green room with all of our educational material, and they get access to our Innovation Women online community, which is another place that speakers can network with other speakers. Speaker Friend Friday is literally a weekly Zoom call that anybody is welcome to join. We hop on Zoom every Friday morning and we talk about everything related to public speaking as a business, public speaking as a career, and public speaking as a way to support your existing business.
I love it. So, what is the website?
Innovationwomen.com.
That's very easy. We're actually going to be putting all those links below. But before I let you go, Bobbie, thank you so much for spending all of this time with us. You are a powerhouse. You have created multiple businesses. I still don't know how you manage all of it. Can I just, for me, I ask questions for the audience. This question is for me. How do you manage all of your businesses that you have going on? Can you please give us just like your best tip so that we can be the powerhouses that you are?
Hire well. It's a team effort. I have the most amazing team. They are doing all kinds of different things that make it look like I am doing all kinds of amazing things when, hey, it's not me at all.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I have two final questions. One, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have of you as a successful speaker?
That it comes naturally. When I started Innovation Nights was an event, and I think I had blocked that I was going to have to speak to people. I think I had just not even thought about it. And I had to be the MC. And I was the MC for more than 130 events over 11 years. And it was basically doing the exact same thing every month. And the first event that we did, I did such a terrible job. I sweated through my clothes. I was just a literal hot mess. Lots of pictures, lots of video exist of me being an absolute disaster. And I looked at that afterwards and I said, I'm going to either get better or I can stop right now because that cannot continue. The weird part about it was the first 20 years of my career, what was I doing? Getting other people on stage. What was I also doing? Training them in presentations. Like I knew what to do,
Yeah.
but I had never practiced it. So 130 events of innovation nights, practice, 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 practice. And all of a sudden, people started asking me to come and speak at their events. I was like, oh, I guess I got better. You do get better.
Love that. And finally, if there was one thing that everybody who's listening needs to do to get started with their speaking journey, and they have to do that one thing in the next 24 hours, what would that thing be? And I'm going to give everybody this one already. Sign up for Innovation Women at innovationwomen.com. What would be the second thing?
I would say go to Google or your chosen search engine and type in the words call for speakers and your industry and put in 2025 so you get stuff for next year and look at that opportunity because there are going to be opportunities that are going to come up for you. Look at that opportunity and commit right here and now to filling out that form and signing up.
Love that. And everybody's going to do just that. So, Bobbie Carlton, this has been such a pleasure. Can you please tell everybody where to follow you and where to find you?
Well, the easiest way is to find me on Innovation Women and sign up for a free account to be an event manager if you need speakers. But you can follow Innovation Women at Women Inno on Instagram and Twitter, and just search for Innovation Women. You'll find me.
Thank you so much, Bobbie. You have been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here on the podcast with us. Make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you are so that you don't miss another episode of the Superhumans Podcast.